I want to thank you for taking a few minutes to join me on Sundays. It's always a pleasure to share this time with each and every one of you. And of course, if you enjoy it or feel it could be a benefit to anyone, please feel free to pass it along. This is available on live on Facebook, on YouTube, and also on my website, charlottemcginnis.com. So it's streaming at you from many different directions. Well, it's a beautiful day here in Flat Rock, and after a week of lots and lots of rain and chances of flooding, we're looking at beautiful sunshine. It's warm and all is well. Before we get started today, I would like to just take a moment and ask you all to say an extra prayer for our dear friend Mary Fakay. She's in the hospital. We're going to actually go visit her a little later. We've been up there this week already, and just send her all kinds of good juju, good love, and pray for the greatest degree of love for her and healing, and support her in prayer any way you see fit. I know she'd appreciate it. So we had a great heart-to-heart conversation this past week. If you haven't had a chance to tune into it, it's on my Facebook page as well as YouTube, my YouTube channel, youtube.com, Inspire YOU TV. That's my channel, and you can go there and listen to Sandy and all the others. And this week, I have an awesome lady. I don't know her personally, but I know her heart to heart, and I'm looking forward to introducing everybody to her and getting to know her a little better. Her name is Reverend Stacy Piedarita. I think I pronounced that right. And she's a lovely person as well. Well, there's my buddy Ed and Carol from my hometown. So it's great to see you guys here, and look forward to seeing you a little later today, Ed. So there you have it. Okie doke. Well, today, last week, as you know, I was actually, no, last week I was on, but the prior week I had planned to do the talk, but there were some things that came up and I wasn't able to do it. So I titled it The Power of Soul. And we're going to get to that today. And it may be more, the universe never makes mistakes. So I guess it was meant to be today and not last week. And just a reminder, anyone who tuned in last week to my Holy Moments, Synchronicity, and Flow talk, know that I mentioned that we're going to be beginning a book study. And I would love to have you join us. It's going to be a virtual group, so you can join us from anywhere. Once we sort of understand how many people are coming, who's interested, we'll send out some options of time. And I'm going to do it along with my good friend, Julie Considine, who many of you all know. And she's an awesome lady, teacher, and friend. So there you have it. So if you want to join us, make sure you text me, email me, or put it on this post, whatever feels right to you, and we'll get her going. Okay, so I say this often, but as you know, I listen to a lot of, I read a lot, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I try to be very open-minded. I don't want to attach to any one thought system or one side. I don't think that God takes sides, and I want to be in my God mind. So I want to go be on the side of God. And what is that? That's the side of love. And I'm seeking how to get there. And I do honor everyone's opinions, and I don't choose to judge myself or others when I get caught up in like, oh, they're wrong. How dare them say that? This is the holy group and they're unholy or whatever. And this right and wrong nonsense is just a great perpetuation of keeping us stuck in this crazy dream. So we have to let all that stuff go, right? So anyway, I think the common consensus that comes across all of these podcasts and my articles and my prophecy readings, and from scripture, biblically, any spiritual messages that come through, it's definitely pointing to the fact that 2024 is a year of major change. And change is sometimes ugly and difficult and painful, but it doesn't have to be. It's really the mind we take into it, right? but I think it's necessary. Again, back to what I said earlier, there's no mistakes in God. God didn't make mistakes. There's no mistake in God's plan, and chance plays no part in his mission, in his vision for all of us, for the world. So really what the big, so I try to put all this together and come from a place of like healing, wholeness, oneness. Again, not taking sides, but just a perspective that comes up for me. And as I always say, take what you like, leave the rest. You know, I'm just sharing what I get, and you can do with it what you like. So anyway, the one thing I get, the common denominator, especially this week, it seems like we're moving towards a precipice of something big happening. And it looks like our dress rehearsal is over, and it's time for us to really wake up. You know, we've been talking about this. I talk about this a lot, as you know, and it looks as though this waking up process is upon us in a big way. And the path we choose has never been more important than it is right here, right now. We have to be so conscious, so aware, so mindful of every thought we think, every step we take, every judgment that we see ourselves making. Just a little tidbit from A Course in Miracles. It says you can't judge because you're judging on your limited little scope of what you think you understand, and we don't understand anything at all. And I think that as we become more enlightened, you know, there's another line in the Course in Miracles that says, I do not know what anything, including this, is for. Therefore, I will not let my past determine how I choose to view it, right? So I think that awakening, ascension, navigating these mucky waters is all about presence, being in our heart, letting go of the need to be right, and understanding that we are all in this collective dream together. And we're all here to awaken together and support each other. So the big message, I think, and we've known this most, you know, I'm preaching to the choir here. I know who watches and who listens, and you're an evolved bunch, and people who are really like getting the you know, tap on the shoulder, like, you know, yeah, I want to wake up. I don't want to play small anymore. I don't want to get into judgment and duality and separation. And so I know who I'm speaking to, and I honor you all for that because I appreciate that. And that being said, we all have our moments when we're not so holy and wonderful, and that's okay too, because that's part of the process. But one thing I think we know for sure is that true awakening takes place within. And everything is an inside job. And really, all healing is self-healing. And how we see the world is a reflection of what is healed or unhealed within us. Those who are healed, those who see themselves as whole, see the world as holy. They see it as a place of love. They see these conflicts as an opportunity for growth. They don't tend to judge. They don't tend to take sides. They see the world as in its beauty and not in its chaos. This is also another great reminder, is that when we don't tune into this and we use this thinking mind, and we're choosing to pull our past and our hurts and all these things into the moment, then we suffer, right? Judgment creates suffering. You know, it is what it is, as our dear friend Terry, his song said, it is what it is. No need to explain it, right? So if we can just look at this and say, well, it is what it is. And I love this statement here, and it says, awakening is not changing who you are, but discarding or letting go of who you are not. So who you are is one thing and one thing only, and you're only love. You are a divine spark of our beloved Father. You are a child of God, and you are created in the likeness and image of God. And what is God but love? changeless, formless, and eternal, and non-judgmental, attributes, aspects of God, right? You know what they are. I know you do. So you are that. So awakening means that we remove the blocks to the awareness of that presence. So what does that mean? Well, I would like this gal. You all, I watch Gaia TV sometimes. It's a app, and they have really great seminars and teachers and really cool stuff on their movies. And GAIA, been around a while, several years, and they have some really great shows on there. And one of my favorites is Open Minds, and the facilitator of that, her name is Regina Meredith, and she's really a cool teacher. Excuse me. And she shared, I watched one of her videos this week in the sauna, and it's one way to handle it, the torture, right? So anyway, but she had a great little conversation. It was about 30 minutes, and she had shared that, good morning, Sandra. But anyway, she had shared that she had spoken to some of her friends who were channels, who were really in touch with the ascended masters, who had maybe an enlightened perspective of what's going on. And one of those was a dear friend of ours, Sheila Gillette, who has actually been here many, many times. And she and her husband, Marcus, are amazing. And Sheila actually channels what she calls the Theo group. And she calls that a consortium of archangels who come through and just bring pure, loving messages. And a lot of people have weird feelings and thoughts about channeling, but really, I think we all channel, to be honest. And what channeling is, whether you label it as channeling or not, it's really when we open ourselves up to receive messages of truth. And I know that when I'm in my best state of awareness, my highest level of consciousness, when I'm not judging, when I'm present, when I'm open, then what happens is I receive wonderful messages. And often on Sundays when I'm talking here, I have a lesson in front of me, and I go way off course, because it's like, well, where'd that come from? And I bet you all don't even know when that happens. And I'll go, that's interesting. That's not at all what I'd planned to talk about. Where did that come from? Thank you. And I know we all do that. So channeling is not anything voodoo or weird. It's just opening ourselves up to receive truth and enlightenment. So anyway, the universal theme, and she had talked to others besides Sheila, and she, of course, is her own divine channel herself, meaning Regina. What she had, the common message that came through to all of them is this year is one of chaos and breakdown and turbulence. And the other side of that is what is on the other side of that. And it's really our spiritual awakening. So back to this quote I said earlier, the statement, awakening is not changing who we are, but discarding who we are not. Well, that holds true for us individually and collectively, right? So collectively, meaning these structures, these organizations, these governments, financial systems, whatever it is, all of those, everything that is not of the light in everything, us and the collective, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, the micro and the macro, right? The macro, everything that is not of the light has to be discarded. And that's pretty much what this is about. So yes, this year, I think everything, as I said, is coming to a head in a big way. So what is our role? Well, what they had all, the masters and the guides had mentioned and suggested is our role in this cosmic shift is to clear our own stuff. And I'm preaching again to the choir, and I've said this 1,000 times. Well, I always go back to what Bob Proctor, many of you all know him. He was I think they call him the grandfather of motivational speaking. He's been around, he passed away a couple of years ago, but he started 60 years ago in this movement. And his actual inspiration to be who he became was from one book, which he said he read every day for 60 years, and it was Think and Grow Rich. And in that book, I had read it many years prior to when I was reintroduced to it, and I was like, this is all about making money and anyway, I just, and it was not that enlightening to me. But now as every time I read it, as I'm different, I see great value in that. So he basically, the point I'm choosing to make is, although I repeat myself and try to present everything I'm saying in many different ways, because to me, it's all one message anyway, right? So I try to come in from this angle, this perspective, their viewpoint. So you hear me quote lots of different things. So, he says, and people would often say to him, because honestly, people paid thousands of dollars and were devoted to this man. And you would go to his talks and he would say the same thing. I mean, I went back to his talks years prior, and it was pretty much the same thing. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Same thing with Wayne Dyer. I could almost recite his talks every time. And this is not a criticism. What it is, and Bob Proctor put the nail on the head. He said, well, are you a millionaire yet? Have you, I would say, are you ascended yet? So if the answer is not yes, then you need to obviously haven't heard it enough. So I guess that repetition is the key to enlightenment, the key to success, whatever that is for you. So we need to continue to hear these truths and turn off the falsities of the world. So we need to listen to that higher mind, these messages that support awakening, and turn off the rest, okay? So what is our role? Well, our role is to heal ourselves ultimately. Eckhart Tolle, here we are. This sort of reminded me as well of Bob Proctor and a lot of the motivational teachers out there. They always talk about the comfort zone. And most people just like, well, I just want to stay in my little bubble, in my comfort zone. And as long as I can just stay there, and I don't want to make any changes because they're sometimes messy and not easy. And what they all say is there's no growth in the comfort zone. So sometimes we're going through a turbulent time. It's not a comfort zone by any means, but what Eckhart Tolle says to support this, I've never heard of anyone who awakens in their comfort zone. And that's true. Awakening is kind of a messy, painful, tough process sometimes. And that's okay, because another quote from A Course in Miracles, if you knew who walked beside you on the path that you have chosen, fear would be impossible. So you're not alone, right? So the Holy Spirit is always walking at our side. And so if we just take the hand of the Holy Spirit, and be guided and led, we don't have to be so ripped up through these difficult times that life throws at us sometimes. So this is a good thing. Remember, all these things I don't want to focus on the gloom and doom. I want to focus on the beauty and the purpose and the gifts of all of these changes that are happening, because they're making room for the new world, the new earth to emerge. And so how do we do that? Well, we're just going to keep until we get it, till we ascend, till we wake up. What do we do? Well, first of all, we cannot afford the luxury of a negative thought. We can't afford the luxury of anger, and we can't afford the luxury of judgment. We have to let that go. Every time I choose a negative thought, that not only impacts me personally, it's a ripple effect into the universe. And it's also toxic to our physical bodies. It's toxic to the world. It's toxic. Negativity, judgment, anger. Those are all vibrations that are low vibration, and they're not serving in the ascension. Oh, there's Molly popping in there. So also, we have to just remember who we are in truth. We are the light of God. We are changeless, formless, and eternal. and we are the light of the world. So it's time to return to where our true power is, and that power is the power of our soul, that essence within us that is divine and holy, changeless and formless and eternal and all good. C.S. Lewis, good morning, Chris. I'll see you soon next week. The C.S. Lewis, he wonderful author, many great stories. He said, "You don't have a soul, you have a body." Excuse me, I missed the middle line there. It says, "You don't have a soul, you are a soul. You have a body." So we don't have a soul. That's who we are. This body is just, that's just something we're making up, right? This body is a means of communication. The Course in Miracles says the body is a means of communication, and it's our body is responding to the vibration, the consciousness, the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions that we're putting into it. And we have free will to choose every moment which vibration we want to tap into. So I love this idea of the soul being who we are. It's not an idea, it's a truth. I should say the truth. And the soul is so powerful, and we don't give it enough attention, maybe. So who we are is far greater and far more powerful than we could ever imagine. So it's time to lift the veil, peel away those layers to the awareness of who we are in truth. And Einstein, he says the soul given to each of us is moved by the same living spirit that moves the universe. There you go. That's the power that lives within us, but we have it buried with all of our projections, our idolatry, our judgments, our past history of not being good enough, or expectations in our future, whatever. And although those are fun arenas to play in, maybe they're not really in the realm of eternity, not that big of a deal, truly. And go ahead and play, but play with your heart. Do everything from your heart, right? So the soul given to each of us is moved by the same living spirit that moves the universe. Pretty powerful, huh? Well, I do love to listen to Joel Osteen. I haven't listened to him in a while, but I used to listen to him a lot. And he would say often, the same spark that raised Jesus from the dead is in each and every one of us. Really saying the same thing that Einstein said, is that the spark of creation and the spark of infinite possibility is within each and every one of us. But we have to let go and let God, as they say, right? Let go and let God. So we, part of this awakening, we need to create the grandest possible vision of ourselves, because we ultimately do believe, we do become what we believe. So it works, back to some of the motivational teachings and things. And I've mentioned this over the years, I tap into this stuff works. What you focus on creates a vibration and ultimately comes to reality, right? Well, and it's, so I focus, I'm going to get that car, darn it. I want that car. I want that. I'm envisioning $1 million in my bank account or whatever it is. And, ultimately, and that's, that's 3D living, and it's great to do that. But I really think that ultimately, I like what Jim Carrey says. He says he wishes that everybody could be rich, just to see that that's not going to bring them what they think they're looking for. And again, money's not a good or bad thing. Wealth is certainly a wonderful thing, but how do we use everything that's in our life? Everything is neutral. So everything can be used for the Holy Spirit's purposes or the ego's purposes. So am I using, or if I have gifts, talents, money, whatever, am I using my gifts to bring more light and awareness to the world, or am I using those to create more separation? So envision, what we focus on expands. It creates a vibration, right? We all know that. So put our hearts, our minds, our intellect and soul, and even our smallest acts into into our heart. Always take that, just go into our heart and just know that, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Check into your intuition. You often see me just naturally do this when I talk about the heart. Be led from the heart. You can't go wrong. So the living soul, the truth of who we are, of the living soul of who we are, one that's conscious of its power, cannot be quelled. So that, if you really want to tap into the true power, I think that that's where it's at. Totally. I know that's where it's at. And I think that's why you can call it the ego or the devil or the dark forces. They don't want us to know that. And so if you just look at this sort of, and I get this so uh, obviously in the world, it's like, ooh, this is shiny. Yeah, look, you want this, right? This will make you happy. Get this degree. Oh, how about another degree? And then you can get more letters after your name. That's going to make you really important. Oh no, how about this relationship? Make sure you get yourselves all beautiful, and then you'll attract another beautiful person. And all these games we play, and then where the universe is always trying to distract us and to like take the bait, right? We hook into it. Oh yeah, well, if only I accomplish this and I achieve this, then I'm going to be happy. Well, just make sure that everything, the body is a house for the soul, so we need to treat it as such, right? And there's certainly absolutely no problem with success, but it's what we do with it. It's really, because in the world we have roles, we have functions, but take the higher role always. I love it. People will say, and they're saying it more and more. And it used to kind of like tick me, and now I'm like, yay. The people say very confidently now when with their successes, they say, I give the glory to God. That God, I could not have done this. So they have actually channeled from spirit, from God, this gift that was given to them, and they're using the rewards that are reaped from this, they're using as a means of lifting up the world. So it's all about what we do with our gifts. This is an interesting quote, and it says, a beautiful woman delights in the eye, a wise woman, the understanding, a pure woman, the soul. So it's, you get to the point where, all that eye candy is, and I think that comes with maturity too, but well, there's Martha. Hey, Martha. But anyway, we go from delighting in the eye of, the sparkly stuff. And then when we get wiser, we want understanding. But then when we really get to that state of purity of mind, we're really seeking to connect at a soul level. So that's where it's at. It's about true forgiveness. We talk a lot about peace in the Course of Miracles. We have a group on Friday. Everybody's welcome. It's a Zoom group. And the last lesson we had this past week was titled, How is Peace Possible in the World? And it's not about going to war, and it's not about changing necessarily the conditions or the situations. It goes back to living from within and true forgiveness. So think of it this way. If we were really in our God mind, then we would not perpetuate any act but one of love. So anyone who's acting out in crazy ways and then think that actually war is a good thing is actually coming from the premise that that there is a value in that, but it's really coming from fear and weakness, and then I'm going to have more power if I win. And so what we're here to do is to know that war is not the answer, because one side has to win, one side has to lose, right? How can that's not God's plan. That's insane if you think about it. So we have to make sure that wherever we are, whatever we do, how do we bring peace into the world? Well, it's not about shifting anything, but shifting our vision of it. And when we see someone who is an evil doer, right? Someone who's like really not doing very loving things and creating a lot of chaos and insanity, rather than curse them or point the finger or judge them. It's more about saying, I choose to see past the role of insanity that they're playing. I want to see the truth of that person. And when you look past the veil of their cruelty and their insanity and their fear, you see, usually when you see someone act in an insane way, it's fear, it's inferiority, it's a lot of things. It's negative programming. And once you see past that and can hold that vision for them that they can't see for themselves, you're helping to heal them. You're helping them to awaken. You know, we all are here to help each other, as Ram Dass says, walk each other home, right? So sometimes I'm playing the role of the seer of truth, and sometimes I need people to see for me what I can't see. So that's our role in this process of awakening. Charles Bukowski says, the free soul is rare, but you know when you see it. Basically, because you feel good, very good, when you're near or with them. And that is so true. Don't you know, when people you just feel good to be around and they lift you up and you don't feel like you're being judged and looked at and picked apart and it just feels safe and comfortable. Those are people who are emitting a vibration of truth, of love, and they've done their work. So it says, the follow-up to this says, go to the people and places that set a spark in your soul. So we need to really put ourselves in a state of awareness, in a position of that which lifts us up. And so go to those people and places that set a spark in our own souls. And I love this. If we only, and this is back to true forgiveness, if our eyes only saw souls instead of bodies, how different our ideals of beauty would be. And that's so true. I mean, we're all the same at the core. The soul is perfect. Okay, so we're all perfect when we see past the judgment. And that's, that would be, how's peace possible in the world? Well, to see the soul instead of what do we do first? We look at a body, it's like, oh, or ooh, and it's like soul vision. That's what we want. And if we do that, we're lifting the vibe. We're moving towards that ascension consciousness. And really at the core, love is the beauty of the soul. The soul is only love. And so the soul knows the way. I look at the soul as our essence, that part of us that never dies. It's energy, right? And our bodies are here to learn lessons and teach lessons. And some people live in their bodies for a day and some live 110 years. And either way, it's their soul has at some level chosen that time period to do what they need to do or learn what they need to learn or teach what they need to teach, and then they let go. But the soul just goes on and continuation. It's a continuation. The soul never dies. And so we need to not, we value the body so much. We're so much in fear sometimes that we give more merit to the body than the soul. And the reason I mention this is also in the healing process. It says the soul always knows what to do to heal itself. The challenge is to silence the mind. And to heal itself may not mean necessarily heal the body. Sometimes the body's just served its purpose, and that's okay, because I believe that my soul's been here since the beginning, and it will be here for eternity, and it will continue to evolve and grow, and I want and expand. So it's when we identify with that, we don't get so caught up in the fear of the body failing or what have you. But we can do a lot. I really do believe this as well. We can do a whole lot to improve experience here. So invite the Holy Spirit into every cell of your being, and ask for guidance for the best way for you to proceed, how to eat, what activities to choose, what to read. All these things are feeding us, and sometimes you could be the most holy person, right? And I'll give a perfect example. Ram Dass, very holy man. He was a very holy man, one of the holiest people who walked the earth in our lifetimes, right? And yet he had a debilitating stroke that left him as a quadriplegic for many years. And he went through his phases of anger. Why me? I'm enlightened. I don't like this. This isn't what I signed up for. To knowing that that experience was a huge soul lesson. And he was able to be shift from anger to gratitude. And that's when we really like, man, yeah, I can be in this world, but not of it. And golly, whatever happens, I'm not going to let it, I'm not going to let it touch me. And that's enlightenment. So sometimes we have challenging lessons. So we're here to learn. That's all it is. It's a classroom. We're going through turbulent times. We know that. So whatever is good for the soul, do it, right? Just do more of that. What's in our soul can't be taken away from us, right? Nobody can take that away from us. So the money, the relationships, the body, all those things can be taken away or lost, right? But the soul, if we come from that, come here, come there, whatever, but that can't be taken away from us ever. So that's pretty powerful stuff, right? Do y'all have any thoughts on that? I'm getting goosebumps just talking about this because it resonates so strongly with me. And I do know this is the truth. Rumi, I love him. He says the soul has been given its own ears to hear things the mind does not understand. So, our thinking mind is not going to get us through this experience, right? Through any experience. We give too much value to the intellect, and yes, it serves a purpose, but what really the soul, again, it actually has ears to hear things that the mind can't understand. So we have to be willing to say, okay, turn this off, tune into this. And the finest, I love this so much, it really struck me. The finest souls are those who gulped pain and avoided making others taste it. And so, often I think you see, well, if you really look at the message of Jesus, he took upon our sin so we wouldn't have to. And that's interpreted in many different ways. But he came here as a light to the world, right? And he and others, but we're going to talk about Jesus for a minute here. And he came here to teach us a lesson that teach us that even the least among us can do everything he's done and greater things. He came as a master teacher to show us how to live more like him, that we're all divine, we're holy, and we need to forgive, and we need to be more kind, and we need to be more loving. And yet, would that get him in the end? Well, you know the story, right? I think you do. Anyway, didn't look like it was that good of a thing. He swallowed that pain so other people didn't have to do it. And in the end, though, guess what? Love wins, because he came back, he ascended and came back to the world, right? He never died. He overcame the world. And that's what we're here to do, is to overcome the world. So we need to sometimes, I think that when you're enlightened, you also realize that sometimes the role, it's not like all fun and games. Sometimes you got to swallow the pain so other people's don't have to. And I think parents do that a lot. You just sort of take on the pain of your children because you don't want them to suffer. That's what God has, that's what Jesus did for us and other masters as well. So I love this. The finest souls are those who gulped pain and avoided making others taste it. And another Rumi quote, he says, "My soul is from elsewhere. I'm sure of that. And I intend to end up there." Well, where are we going? All I know is where my soul came from. I think that, it's not about heaven and hell are not destinations, they're state of awareness. And it's about returning home. And returning home is to exactly what Rumi says, where our soul came from. And the soul came from God, from the greatest creator. And that's what we're here to return to and remember. So I hope that you all got something out of this. If you feel moved to pass it along, please do. You can share it on your Facebook page or YouTube or whatever. And I'll look forward to seeing you this Wednesday for the heart-to-heart conversation. And next week, that seems to be the schedule. And anyway, the last quote I will close with says that your soul knows, always knows, when it's time to close a chapter. And right now, it's time for me to close this week's chapter. So thanks for tuning in. Many blessings and namaste.